Welcome to Atypical Loft Gritter. Let's put these to use today. We're down here in the orchard today. Got a few trees we want to prune up. I can't prune all of them because I've promised our farmhand, Oliver, that I would walk him through the process as well. So we're going to do some apple trees today and maybe have a little chat. Let's see how it works out. All right, so this is a McCown apple. You can tell it was pruned last year. I cut about 6 to 7 feet off the top of each three of these. Today we're going to take the whole top off now. I don't want anything reaching for the sky. My goal is to keep everything low, within 6 to 8 feet, so it's easier to grab and handle, versus 12 or 14 feet where we need ladders and weird tools. So what you're going to need, some good loppers. These are only used for the orchard. We have other ones that we use for cutting out roots and stuff. We keep these as clean as we can. This happens to be a brand new pair because I couldn't find the other ones. Gonna need some simple hand pruners. You're gonna want some alcohol and a clean rag. And the reason for that is you want to wash your tools between each tree. So I'm gonna wash these with alcohol. This is 91%. I don't know what percent is best. If you do, leave it in the comments. But you want to wash these so that you don't transfer any disease, bacteria, fungus that doesn't belong on this tree, if that makes any sense. So we'll clean this up real quick. It's a blistery day. It's beautiful out. It's the real feels like 11 down here. It's awesome. The temperature says on my weather app that it's like 28. I don't know if I believe it, but I don't really care because, well, I live for this weather. This is my favorite. I live in central New Hampshire for a reason. I live here just for the winters. Here, again, just clean these off real quick and then just make clean cuts. I don't know if there's a right or wrong way of pruning trees, because I know in nature, deer and everything else, they prune the trees, and these trees tend to survive and thrive. So I do know that I always try to cut everything at a slight angle so no water can set on the top. So here, I'm just going to get rid of this huge leader here. I don't like that angle. That's a nice clean cut. There's no frays. Everything else looks pretty decent. I'm just going to leave it like this. And what I'll do is I'll have Oliver come back through and he will tie string and we'll weigh down some of these branches to get them more horizontal. If a tree branch supposedly is growing more than a 45, heavy weight from the fruit can break these off, so these limbs. And obviously we don't want to do that. So this is a quick and easy because I already pruned this last year. I just wanted to lop this top, initiate more growth through some of this. I will take a couple of other things off. But basically is what this does by removing the center is allows more sun, more air, less bacteria and fungi and bad things to kind of stick to it and damage your trees. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's okay. Trees are very forgiving. I watch people that literally looks like they butchered them, and then the following year they come back and they're growing, 10 gallons of fruit. So, and I measure everything in gallons because we walk around with 5-gallon buckets for our tools, for water, for compost, whatever we're using. So this one's rather long. I'm going to take this off. This one's growing straight up. This is only going to interfere with everything that's above it. And I want to cut it right at the collar. So if you see, you can see kind of like right where this starts, there's a ring that goes around it. And then that's I guess it's called the collar. If I'm using the wrong terminology, please let me know. This has too much going on here. So I want to save one of these, and I think it's going to be the bottom one. And again, cutting it right at the collar. I think I'm going to leave this. Actually, this one needs to come off because this one is rubbing against this one. We don't want anything rubbing. Rubbing causes wounds. Those wounds get infected, and then we have other issues. This is already starting to become a leader. It's trying to grow straight up. So I'm going to get rid of this because it's interfering with this one here. The same with this on this side. Again, trying to just grow straight up. I like this, but I think I'm going to leave, no, I don't know. No, I think I'm actually just going to, I'm going to get rid of this one, so. Now I don't leave my cuttings on the ground. I'm actually going to use these to propagate, and I might do a video about that, but basically I'm going to shove these in some soil and see if they will take root over the winter. I've had some success with it so far, so we'll see how this all works out. This one is actually growing up between these two here. But if I can train this to go down, then I won't have to worry about it. So the way I look at this is north, east, south, west. Okay? This is heading west. This is heading east. That's heading, actually that's true east, so southeast. Got one heading north, so I try to get them in clumps to where they're going to grow one in each direction, if that makes any sense. But this was just a quick one, so this is nice. And I'll come back after and I'll pick up all of my cuttings. Alright, so here we have a young Cortland. This is probably about 1.5 years old, maybe 2 years old. All of our trees in our orchard are anywhere from 6 to 8 months up to 3.5 years. We just planted this one this fall actually. It was a Tractor Supply catch, and we're just going to see how it does compared to some of the trees we've gotten from other nurseries. So let me clean these up real quick. All right, so again, let's get rid of these leaders. We don't need them. We definitely don't want them. I know that's half of the tree. I get it. Well, not half, but close. And then this is just way too long. Any fruit on this is just going to break this right off. So let's get rid of some of that. So what I do is I kind of find the stress point for me. And I try to find a node that's going in a direction that I want. I don't want anything going down because it's going to be shaded by everything above it. And I don't want anything that's going to grow straight into another branch, if you will. Now, because this tree is so young, I'm not concerned about it making or producing fruit this year. I want it to produce roots. I want it to have an abundance of nutrition so that these roots just go everywhere and they start to talk to and work with all the other trees, shrubs, and plants around here. So this year I'm just focusing on growth. So the more you cut it back, the more the roots grow. And then once spring and summer hits, the roots, they don't grow as much, but everything else that you see does. So they kind of take turns. I think I'm good with this tree here. It's got enough 2, 4, 6, 7 little limbs. It'll produce enough leaves, aka solar panels, for the summertime, and so it should be pretty good. This is also a good time when you're pruning to look your trees over to see, you know, if there's any fungus, any bacteria, any type of disease, because you want to eradicate that as soon as you possibly can. You don't want to leave it lingering around. All right, this here's another Cortland. This is going to be a little tricky because this is going up. All 3 of these are going up. This one's at a sharp angle. That's an angle we don't want. So I think I'll take this back to try to prune it, to hang it so we can train this to go down more. Again, this is the same age, if you will, as the other one. Again, another Tractor Supply. I don't sleep on trees that are only $40 because this can produce 40 years worth of fruit in abundance. So let me get these tools cleaned up and we'll see what we can do here. So my wife and I, we came from a small city here in New Hampshire, and we kind of just got tired of the city kind of life. Not that it was a big city, it's probably 45, 50,000 people, but there were a lot of coming and goings because, well, it was the capital, and you know, there's a state building and representatives and Senate and the governor and everybody else, as well as hospitals, and it was big enough that we just had enough. So we ended up buying our property in the middle of nowhere on the side of a mountain, and now we're just trying to build an off-grid home that we can sustain ourselves and our family and our friends, and maybe even feed some extra people along the way. But right now we're still in the building phase. We live about 30 minutes away, and I commute back and forth here every day, trying to do a little of this and a little of that. And I probably should film more if I really want to build a YouTube channel, but this is just more about me kind of capturing my past, if you will, so when I look back later on in life, I can see some of the things that I did and some of the things that I shared with people. All right, again, huge leader. We don't need this. But I want to cut this in a way that I don't damage the other. I know what you're thinking. It hurts me too. But you'll see, next year, I will film these trees again. I don't think I'll be pruning every single year. I don't think I have to, but to be able to train these properly, I definitely want to be able to do it now. There's only 3 limbs here, and then there's a small one that's heading to the north, so I'm not going to do too much more, but I am going to shorten these a little bit because they're just way too long. I might actually just leave this. I might just take a little off of this one and leave the other 3. So let me find a good node. And again, I'll have Oliver come back through. He'll tie some string. We'll weight them down with rocks and logs and whatever, so that we can get these to go more horizontal. These are all perfect limbs to train. If they're at a 45, if they're up like this, they're very difficult to bend back down the other way. So catching them now while we can is much easier to deal with than later on when we can't, and the fruit will end up breaking these branches off, and then, well, not only do we have a broken tree, it'll get sickly and possibly die. All right, so this is a Honeycrisp. We have several different cultivars or varieties of apples. We didn't stick with any one rule or whatever. We just like apples. So this one was not pruned at all. We planted this one last year. It's probably 3 years old at least. It's doing fantastic, but it's got a lot of pruning to do. Always remove anything underneath. Just rub your hand over it. If your hand catches it, I learned this from Stefan Subkowiak. Great idea. Very simple, very quick. These can all be trained. They're all super flexible still. These are tangled up. No bueno. This is not good. And this has got some scarring on it too. So again, we don't want anything rubbing, and we definitely don't want anything with scarring with open wounds. Believe it or not, this will all grow back this year. So by the time apples start being produced, there will be plenty of new growth to support all of these fruit. This is a Fuji. This one has 2 leaders growing right up from the same spot. I want to keep one. I really should keep none. But I have so much to do with this tree, I only want to cut about 1/3 to 1/2 at the very most. They say 1/3, but I see people cut way more than that, and their trees are super successful. And again, I don't know much. I only regurgitate what I see and hear from other people's successes. So I'm hoping this works. Now, because of where this tree is, I talked to Shannon about this. There's nothing behind it that it's going to shade that won't survive. Matter of fact, our rain catchment is behind it, which is okay. So I'm going to leave this leader this year, and I'm just going to see how it all plays out. And if it doesn't, I'll just come back and take it off. I hope I can train this one right here. I hope I can train that to keep it out of the way of this one heading north. This is east, that's north. There's just something about pruning a tree. It's instant gratification because you can see what's going to happen to the tree as soon as you prune it. So for example, there's a node here. I know from that node that this is going to send a branch out this way towards me, which is going to fill in this entire area. I'm not going to go crazy with this one. I had to cut a lot off last year off the top, just like I did over there with the other 3. It was about 6 or 7 feet. So I think I'm just going to lop the top and make sure that nothing is crossing and rubbing, and just call it a day with this one. This is a Jonathan apple. Shannon found this one. This is again another Tractor Supply. I think we bought 10 trees this year from Tractor Supply. This one's perfect. Every branch, nothing is close to each other. They're all pointing in all 4 directions. Very little to do. I'm just going to take off the leader to keep everything low and reachable. So when it comes time for picking, we won't be climbing ladders and risking our lives to eat fruit. Now, if you notice, I like to keep the tags on. I like to know what kind of tree it is. Obviously, I'll know it's an apple tree when it bears fruit, but what kind, what cultivar. The goal is to figure out a way of marking all of these trees with what species it is and all of its information, but I don't really know how to do that. I've been pondering this for a while. I see some people use cement and then they draw in it and write in it, and I've seen some people that just leave the tags on them. Well, the tags only last so long because the tree will outgrow them, so I need to figure something out. If you have an idea, I'd love to hear it. What a great day. Thank you for being here with me. I really appreciate it.